of the City Soundoff. I'm just going to make sure that it's saying the Detour on there, unlike the last episode. And I'm going to quickly change it. Shows how organized I am here. So we're with the Detour. They are out of Edmonton. This is a first for a while where we're going off the grid of Manitoba, but we're heading into Alberta here. So we're with the Detour. So I will get them to just kind of talk about themselves, who they are, and maybe how long they've been together doing this.
I'll start if you guys ready for that.
Yeah, go ahead, bud. Go ahead. Yeah, you start.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Bernal. I am the guitar. Sorry, I'll go ahead. Hi, I'm Bernal. I am the lead guitar player and synth player for the Detour. We have been together for a little over a year, and we play sort of a kind of a mix of a synth wave and dark wave and synth rock. So we sort of all have our own influences in it, but we sort of focus on melodies and heavy guitars and a really modern sound. And yeah, I've been really enjoying starting up this project with my wife Andrea, who I've been playing music with for a while, with one of my best friends Mikey up here, who I've been playing music with since high school, and with my other best friend here, Kasha, who joined the Detour about a year and a half ago, and we've been just getting along great.
Excellent. And sorry, how long have you been together for?
About, would you say about a year and a half? I'd say,
Yeah.
roughly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, you've had a good year so far. All your releases have come in 2024 by the looks of it.
Yeah.
At least the ones I found on Spotify.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
five. We released 5 this year.
Yeah,
We've
we
been
hit
doing
the
kind of
studio
the
hard.
approach
Started.
of doing a single at a time, and
Yeah. Was
Yeah,
it
excellent.
February when we started hitting the studio hard? I think so, something like that.
So all these recordings are done in studio. You don't do any home recordings or anything?
Yeah, that's right. All in studio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow,
there's kind of a
excellent.
two-step process because we do our synth arrangements at home. Basically, we arrange all the synth parts, and we all practice to it when we're over here jamming, and then basically we export all the audio files to the recording studio, and then we record our live parts over there. So it's kind of like a two-step approach.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a big thing that comes up on a lot of the shows that I do is who's recording at home, who's doing studios, and benefits of having both, and people who do both as well. So that's fantastic. You just going through I'm just pulling up your singles here, but obviously your latest release here, a cover of "Running Up That Hill" from Kate Bush. Am I right on that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Awesome. What was what went through your minds with doing that song? Why that song? Was it had anything to do with Stranger Things at all?
No.
No. Okay.
I think Andrew can answer that
certainly-
question.
It kind of comes at it, right? But the roots of that song are kind of deeper, and it's more actually pretty personal to Andrea. I don't know if you wanted to say something about that.
Oh, I discovered that song when I was 8 years old, and I've been obsessed with Kate Bush ever since. And yeah, that song just, I can't get sick of it. It's when I've heard it a million times. And when we started the Detour, I kind of had this feeling that this would be a perfect band to do that song. So I pitched the idea. I'm not sure how well it went because it's kind of a weird song. It didn't. I don't know if it went that well at first. I just asked them to trust me, and they did, and they allowed us. The whole band agreed that we could record it, and I think to me it's our best song.
I'll just kind of add too that so Mike and I are of a particular vintage from way back when the music video shows were really popular. Like not only just Much Music and MTV, but there was dedicated like video shows on CBC and stuff. And so there was a show called Video Hits with Samantha Fox. That was around 1985, and so I actually remember as a kid. I think seeing the music video for Running Up That Hill, pretty much when it came out, and I remember thinking, well, this is a cool song, but man, what a weird woman. Like there was something kind of intriguing about like why is she like so weird, but strangely like I'm kind of drawn to like, I want to hear more of this, even though it's like hitting me funny. So and yeah, and it turned out to have stood the test of time. So
Yeah, and so it was actually the first song I heard of yours, and I don't know where I first came across you, but I feel like I got an ad on Facebook or something, and I listened to it. I'm like, oh, these guys are great. I got to hear more of it. And then as I started going through a couple of the earlier releases, it really makes sense. Like, you listen to something like Mirror Eyes, which I think might have been your first one that came out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you listen to that and you listen to a cover like that, and you know what? It kind of makes sense with the music, right? So I
Yeah.
wasn't sure when I first heard it. I'm like, oh, I wonder what the rest of this sounds like. But it's a fantastic version of it. Have you ever heard the placebo version of it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's different.
Very different.
But I really like what you've done. You've taken it. You've really kept to the original, but modernized it. And I
Yeah.
think it's such a cool thing to do. And I think back. I have a lot of like early punk days here with some bands, but the Ataris did a cover of "The Boys of Summer" from Don Henley, and they
Oh
really
yeah.
modernized the song when they came out with it, right? And I thought it
Yeah.
was cool. And then a guy in Winnipeg here just did a cover of "Summer of '69" with some really cool musicians in the city here, but they have like gang vocals in it, and like where there's other members like kind of shouting in between the verses and stuff, and it's so cool. And that's the one thing that stands out is when a band does a cover but sticks to the original but modernizes it. And I think that's really what you've done there, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it
much.
a lot. I kind of
And
think
it's
if
Yeah.
I were to sort of say like the detour kind of has a sort of a you could kind of say like a dark fantasy kind of theme. I know there's been like lots of dark fantasy kind of memes or whatever going around, and I'd say we sort of maybe kind of fit in with that kind of genre. A lot of our music sort of has that, it's some of that 80s anthemic kind of quality to it, but mixed with I guess some 1990s sort of darker gothic grunge, and and that's courtesy of Andrea and Nava and Kasha. They bring those influences to the mix. But yeah, it made sense for us to do that cover for sure.
Absolutely. So just the other ones, obviously, those ones are originals we were though, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what goes into a writing process for you guys for writing that style of music? It is different. I think it's fantastic. I don't think there's a lot of bands that well, maybe it's for here, but not a lot of local bands doing that sound. But when I do hear it, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. I'm sitting here wearing a Cure shirt, so there's some
Oh, yeah, right.
eerie vibes and things, and obviously you see where I'm coming from there. But what goes into the writing process for you guys when writing stuff like this?
It's it starts with the synth. There has to be like a hook, like there's like a hook line for the synth, and then we share that with the rest of the band, and we get like an approval. Yes, is this groovy? No, we don't like it. And if they do, then we kind of just develop it from there. But it seems to be that we start with the synth.
Yeah, we play around this. So most of the platform that we're building on is a DAW that's called Reaper. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but yeah, we've been using sort of a modern version of Reaper, and I have just been playing with all kinds of like VST instruments. And the thing it's interesting is, so a lot of the VST instruments, it's really geared towards like emulating analog synth sounds and some early digital and FM sounds. And from that, I think sometimes when we start a song, it's like we'll start with a bass line, and there's like so many different options for like a good solid punchy bass, and it tends to be kind of like the thing that's sort of the synth wave trademark, I guess, is kind of like that dum, 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 kind of like having a sort of a repetitive like eighth note kind of bass pattern. So we'll take that, we'll put together a few lines, and then we'll modify it, and we'll play around with it. We'll flip things around or so, and it sometimes we're influenced by songs that we already know, but like it comes through, we just sort of transform it into something that's original. But we start with the bass line, then we come up with a hook, and then we sort of try to come up with some instrumentation that will sort of sit well in the middle, either whether it's like like a sawtooth wave kind of pad, or whether it's like a choir or strings or something, whatever it is that sounds the best. in the mix. And then usually like we'll write the words afterwards. Although Mirror Eyes was a little bit different because I think I had written the words for that first, and then like the music kind of like sprang out from the structure of the words themselves. So depending on the song.
Mm-hmm. Were either of you in groups before this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Kasha, why don't you tell Joel a little bit about some of the groups that you've been in?
I've been in so many bands. Oh my goodness. I played like from free jazz to like blues and like metal. Yeah, basically all the genres. Like some of the bands I was in when I lived in Poland, and then when I moved here, I did some rock bands, some kind of free jazz, electronic, like very like heavy on improvisation band too, and some metal bands, of course. Yeah, so quite a different style.
And sorry, you're the drummer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Whenever you talk to a drummer, they've been in a million bands.
Yeah, yeah. It's always like we're in three bands at the same time or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, hard to come
Yeah,
by sometimes.
yeah. One time I used to live in like on the fourth floor in like a big apartment, and I had to jam with two different bands in two different ends of the city. So after a jam, I had to pack my drums, put them on my fourth floor back home. Then again, I go to jam with another band in the same week and pack my drums, go there. Crazy, crazy. Yeah.
How was yourself, Mike?
Well, I was in a few sort of hard rock bands and stuff like that for a while, and then I think it 2007 when you phoned me, Brunel, about Dawn in the City,
Yeah,
something
that's
like that.
right. Right.
Yeah, we because Brunel and Andrea had a project, and they were looking for another guitarist. And I mean, Brunel and I had played together a few times in high school and stuff like that. Most of the guitar tricks that I know, I learned from him. Just so you know. So, so yeah, I joined them in 2007, and then we did a lot. So we've got the three of us have a pretty intense history of music together. Not like this. This is a whole new project. This is a whole new world for me. I'd never even heard that Kate Bush song before we did it. So, but so yeah, you get those musical roots that you can build on, right? Like they'll bring the synth track to us, and then my influence comes in, and I just sit there and figure, okay, how can I add punch? How can I chug my way through this, so to speak? So then I'll listen to what Cash is doing. Okay, what's that kick drum doing, right? Okay, here I come. I'm joining that kick drum. This is what's got to happen. So it's a kind of a unique build for us, the way the songs come together. Like Brunel was saying, all our different influences, and some of that goes back to just the hardwired way that Brunel and Andrea and I used to work together. It's still there, thankfully. so
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
that's that.
And the drummer and the bass player also have a special relationship because it's like their instruments just kind of like sort of fuse together and they become like
Mhm.
halves, like two halves of the brain. And these two, they work really, really well. They're able to be like married together as musicians, and it's great because I mean that really a strong foundation, a strong rhythm foundation. I mean that's like it's that it creates a playground for everybody else. So it's really really nice that these two are so solid and so reliable. But going back to Dawn in the City, like just to kind of give you an idea, like when Andrea and I started playing Dawn in the City way back in 2006. At first, like we just really wanted to play live. We just wanted to get out and just like start playing some shows as soon as possible. So we actually started out as kind of like a quasi reggae band because we just wanted to
Mm.
pick up some just easy chords and just like big, and it's just like we just were doing some classic reggae songs and trying to write our own and just for something to play, right? And before, I mean, I was used to like two keyboards and like I don't know probably 10 pedals and wires and all that. And so when we started with Dawn in the City, it's like I went back to basically just one guitar and one pedal, and that was really really like liberating and refreshing for me. And then as Dawn in the City progressed, we sort of eventually dropped the reggae thing. Although actually our most popular song from Dawn in the City was a reggae song. Then we went into like a sort of a more blues, R&B, hard rock kind of direction, and we ended up basically having two singers by the end of it, and just doing our own stage sound and just having a really good live show. And so from that roots that that we created from Dawn in the City with Mike. We picked it up again, however many years later, and started doing this harder rock project. And it's a different role for all of us, but it's really been great.
Interesting. It's always neat hearing kind of the roots of things and how people come together. And I kind of picked up on that there's been some history even before the band. When we first went live there. So, how about your vocalist? What's your vocalist name again?
Nava.
No. Okay. Perfect. How about her? What can you say about her? It's too bad she's not here for it. But what great things can you say about her?
Oh,
Well, she's not here, so
so
we can
many
say
great
whatever we
things.
want.
Yeah.
Well, she's got that perfect pitch, so she sings beautifully. And I like when we met her, she came for an audition, and as soon as she walked in the door, we just knew.
We
We
knew.
knew. Yeah, yeah, we knew. She knew, and yeah, we didn't do any other auditions with any other
Yeah.
singers. It was just her. And then a month later, we're in the studio recording music with her. So it's our band is actually her first band.
Oh wow.
She's been singing on her own with other people, but never like as a front person in a band, as
Okay.
like a lead singer in a band. So this is her first role. It was her first time in the studio, and she was so nervous, but she's so professional. She's amazing. We just totally adore her.
Yeah. Nava's also classically trained on piano,
Yes.
and she also has a lot of Persian influence in her music because that's her ethnic background. She's from Iran, so a lot of
Okay.
that Persian classical music has influenced her. Classical music, and she always says, "Oh, I'm such a '90s girl," because she just loves all the '90s grunge kind of stuff. I would say that she's kind of a true romantic. And so songwriting with her has been actually a dream because her and I can sit down and like we pass together, back and forth together, like basically poetry. Like we come up with like a bunch of words and then we try to put it into poetic form, and then we try to create a song out of that. And she's so easy to work with, just because she's so creative, and she can really, like, everything that she writes down is something that she really feels. So it's genuine.
Excellent. Just talking about kind of songwriting and whatnot while we're on the topic of it here. Who are some influences for you? Obviously, growing up to where you are now.
Go ahead.
Oh, should I start?
Would you
Anyone?
say
Yeah.
you're talking songwriting influences or just general
Just
playing influence?
musical. What's got you to where you are now?
So,
Because
musically, I'd kind of say, so I would say that I kind of started out, at least as far as the electronic and synth part. I was influenced a lot by a French electronic musician named Jean-Michel Jarre, who basically he was sort of a pioneer of electronic music, a very famous performer, and I was captivated listening to the LPs of his electronic music. They go back all the way back to 1976, his solo releases. And so I was influenced a lot by that. And I'd also say, like, growing up with the NES or the Super NES, or so video game music also kind of had a hand in it too, right? Because that's kind of helped to develop. But I'd say, as far as contemporary influences, I mean, I was influenced by Guns N' Roses and White Lion, and a lot of the classic rock kind of bands. Black Rose, I think, was a big one. I really got into an old band called The Faces, sort of in the late '90s, which is kind of a classic band. But recently, I've been getting into some more modern stuff. Anybody else?
what about you, Kasia?
Drummers, Matt Greiner, some other things that like metalcore influences. Before that was like Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater, like lots of prog rock stuff, and band reps, and and like when I was like really little, I used to listen to a band. It was called Kelly Family. It was big in Europe. They were a family of like 9 brothers and sisters, and they all did play all instruments and make music together. And when I was like little, I was like playing on my pillows to their music. So kind of started on that, and then there was like the grunge phase, and there was the punk phase, and then there was metal phase. Then I played some blues, and like I said, and then I moved to metal and kind of played metal until I met them. So
Okay, yeah.
my
Mike, how about yourself?
I grew up listening to Marty Robbins, Johnny Horton, Chuck Berry, Conway Twitty, Loretta Lynn, old school country. Um,
Hmm.
but as far as guitar goes, I picked up the guitar when I first heard, when I wanted to learn how to play Highway to Hell. So I guess AC/DC would have been my influence for guitar, but not so much Angus. It's more Malcolm. I like
Hmm.
the idea of playing the silence, right? I would rather hear dun 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 dun, 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 dun kind of thing, right? Let it breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So and that kind of helps because with the synth music, of course, you always have that cool synth in the background, but then I won't always have the guitar going crazy over top of it. Let the synth breathe. So it kind of works that way too. But then yeah, then of course typical. I was into Megadeth and Strapping Young Lad, Slayer, um, yeah, that kind of stuff. So mostly rhythm players. I just rhythm players amaze me. Guys like Scott Ian, James Hetfield, uh, even Dave Mustaine is an incredible lead player, but his rhythm is amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
what about you,
Interesting.
Andrea?
I'm a 90s kid and I love female artists. So, like Kate Bush and Sinead O'Connor and Janet Jackson, Madonna, Whitney Houston. But I also love Tool and Deftones and kind of that, like, back then it was called new metal. But yeah, I'm like a 90s kid and I love the
Mm.
females. I love the female artists.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and
So interesting hearing four different, influences growing up. Like you go from Conway Twitty to Sinead O'Connor to White Line, who's actually a very underrated band. I feel
well,
never really dig too deep into them, but they're fantastic.
the guitar solos. I mean, Vito Brato's guitar style. I mean, like I know a lot of people like everybody gets compared to Eddie Van Halen or so, but Vito Brato. I mean, Eddie Van Halen is probably his hero, but his particular style, his melodic style, and the way that he approached the guitar, like it just with this band, it's finally my opportunity to be able to try to emulate that sort of with a high gain and playing a Floyd Rose Bridge and stuff. I mean, I think probably my
Mm-hmm.
biggest influence was Joe Satriani as far as that kind of guitar, but I never really had the chance, and I didn't have the chops like back then or whatever to be able to kind of approach that kind of music. 35 years into playing guitar I'm finally getting to be able to play with the Alien all the way through the album and really being able to approach stuff that Vito was doing, and it's really meaningful to me, that I can finally feel like I'm you know kind of one with them now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always interesting. I went through an 80s phase when I was, oh God, I don't even want to talk about it, but I went through an 80s phase, and White Line was the one that really stood out. And it was because of that guitar playing. Um, it was just different, right? And you're right. When you talk about Eddie Van Halen, and I guess maybe the same can be said about Nuno Betancourt too, right? Where there was a
if
lot of Van Halen influence in it too. So,
if I could kind of describe, and these guys will probably attest to it. So Vito's guitar style, if you listen to it a lot, the guy basically the entire time he would play half rhythm and half lead. He would jump. He would jump from
mhm,
playing rhythm to playing lead, and he would play rhythm in on different registers of the guitar. Like anywhere that he was, he would find somewhere on the guitar to either switch between rhythm and lead, no matter where he was on the bottom or on the top of the guitar. So he was just so natural with it, and that's sort
mhm.
of what I do too.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so I don't know if you guys have seen any of the other older episodes that I've been doing. I started off with an author who was on here, was fantastic. Then I had a American country recording artist from Nashville, and then I kind of dove back in my Winnipeg scene because I love my Winnipeg people here. So we talk a lot about the Winnipeg scene, how it's such a supportive scene. And then a couple weeks ago there was a big event that happened here, and it's like it unlocked a door to another scene that the people I know went there, and they're like, I don't know any of these people. This is kind of weird, but it was a whole other thing. What can you say about the music scene in Alberta or even Edmonton?
Yeah, I would say it's so far what we're experiencing. There's a lot of support. We go out and see each other's shows. We play shows with each other. Um,
It's very diverse too.
it's very
You know,
diverse.
Hmm.
There's a lot of metal bands here. Um, we're still looking to find a band that's like us that we can start networking with. Um, yeah, but there's a lot of metal bands here,
Yeah.
punk bands and country and
yeah, alt punk, like cow punk or whatever is this called? I guess is that that's actually making some waves over here. It resonates with people. But yeah, back in the Dawn in the City days, I think it was kind of mostly metal and punk, and so it was kind of neat to be sort of in the middle of that because we didn't really fit in, but we were still accepted by the community because
Mhm.
like people appreciated that we were just working hard and that we were like out there and just supporting other bands and just being musician buddies with everybody. So
That's kind of the same idea of what we're trying to do now. We're
yeah,
different once again.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Listen up, folks.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to find like bands to like fit on the same bill for like genre wise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different style of music, right? And
Yeah.
even when you're not seen, but I'm glad someone's doing it. So
Mhm.
that's great. So you guys just played a show on the weekend?
That's right.
we
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, excellent. Talk to me about shows. What do you guys have anything else coming up, or even just
Yeah.
past shows? What's
Yeah.
what's a detour show like?
Well, we have one coming up in November, on November 16th at Black Bar Tavern on White Avenue, which is like the hip place to be in Edmonton, White Ave. Um, and a detour show. Uh,
I think we really try to set a mood, right? It's all
yeah,
about it's a whole mood, I guess you could
yeah,
say,
totally.
especially with
It's the
Nava.
vibe.
I mean, everything kind of converges on Nava and like in her body language and her singing and her stage presence, you know. So the detour show is kind of like it's almost like a story as well, like it's a live performance, it's music, but it's also like it's like you're watching a story unfolding, like you're being drawn into a novel or like some kind of timeless story, I'll say.
Yeah, it's a vibe. Yeah.
It's a vibe.
You can also see it's pretty obvious the very different influences just in the way we are on stage. So, I mean, everybody else has bright neon stuff, but not me.
Yeah,
Well,
I
now,
saw a video. There's like a bright green guitar somewhere in there.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was bought for me by my lovely wife, who knew that would be the perfect instrument for me. I mean, this
And me
works.
on the yellow face.
Having a sugar mama musician wife is it's nice. Bought me my amp too. Mike and I actually play matching Hughes and Kettner amps, so we're able to match our sound really well.
Do you have is it the Hughes and Kettner like the head that glows blue?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Yeah,
it is.
they're so
the
cool, eh?
Grand,
They're two
Grandmeister
bands, but they
40
have like
bucks.
all the fixins. They have all the digital effects, and they're programmable, and they're just
Mhm.
really, really nice sound and amps. And
Yeah.
you're not like you don't have to pay. It's not like Mesas are cool, but they're $3,000, right?
Yeah.
Hughes and Kettner is like half the price of that, and you get everything that you need and
Exactly.
more.
And they look so good too.
Yeah.
I know I
Right.
rented a 20 a couple of times, and yeah, just love playing through it. I just use amp modelers now, which is I hate carrying things.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
tell
approach-
me.
like one of the bands that has influenced us a lot, the Birthday Massacre. I know at one point the Rainbow, the guitar player for Birthday Massacre, didn't even use an amp. He just went straight into a modeler, and that just went straight into the board. I mean, like the philosophy or the approach to guitar playing, I think is just so diverse now. Like, I mean, it used to be like you needed to have a Marshall plexi and a big muff pedal. Actually, Mike has a big muff pedal, but the approach was like, you needed to have like 412 cabinets stacked and all that, and that was like sort of the standard thing. Now there's like so many ways of doing things because the technology has improved, and I think the sensibility has changed too. So like,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not only that,
tracks.
at my age, you don't want to carry that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, That's what I did the last show. I have a Tonex amp modeler. It's set to an AC30, and I have a guitar with no. It's like a Tom DeLonge Fender, so it doesn't have any tone switches. It's got a single volume knob. It is the easiest setup, and whatever comes out of that Tonex, that's what you get.
Only
I like it. I like it simple now. So
it just has like that one humbucker in the back or so. It's just like just plug in and go.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
All right,
that
yes.
right back. So it's pink, of course.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
yeah. You got the F holes in there.
It's
and
got
everything?
the single invader and just the volume.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an art shop though. Is that?
What's that?
Is that sort of? Is that a semi-acoustic? Is it an art shop?
Yeah, it's like a Starcaster.
Oh, right on, right on.
Yeah.
Very cool.
However it is in the picture. Yeah.
I love gear.
Yeah.
Thank you
Oh,
for
yeah.
showing me.
I have a Strat the same way. It's a blue Strat, single invader, single volume knob. I want it easy now. It's kind of the way
Yeah.
of it. But you know what?
Yeah.
And you know, sorry to keep talking about guitars and stuff, but it's just
Oh, no, please
it's
do.
so crazy how simple it gets that you know, my band played this show 3 weeks ago, and it was actually our first one with this group, and the simplicity of it, of going and playing somewhere where there's a sound guy, and you know, I'm sitting here, I actually have all my gear kind of underneath me here, but which isn't much. It's 3 pedals and an amp modeler. So it's just crazy that like you said, you know, you used to have to go out there with a 412 and everything, and you still see bands doing it, and then I walk up there with an amp modeler and the guy's like, oh no, that's perfect. That's how simple it can be now, right?
Yeah.
I think you kind of learn after a while, like either when it comes to gear, even when it comes to writing songs or so, like that, not overthinking it. Like basically, in order to create something that's just like good and solid, and that is you're going to be able to like sound good to people or so. Sometimes it's best not to overcomplicate it. Like sometimes the best ones that have the best hooks or so, or there's songs that are like that are not like they're not like math rock. They go from like 7/4 to 12/4 to like 7/8 and have like sometimes it's just easier to play something. You can still create something original and something new, but it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, that's right.
Anthemic, right? Like that's what the 80s taught us, right? It's okay to be anthemic.
Did I notice you guys have some merch on your social media?
We do now. Thanks
Did
to
I
Cash.
did I dream that? I thought I saw a sweater with the Detour on it.
Yeah, we have t-shirts now, and I'm venturing into other products. yeah, I'm making them. So,
Kasha is like she's our merch girl. She's like our graphic designer. She does all the artwork for all of our songs. She's like the art lady and the merch lady.
And the one in charge of fonts.
oh my goodness, how many times I hate this one. No.
So how does a person go about getting merch from you? Is it a direct message, or do you have a store that people visit?
we saw them at the show now, and we are setting up a store online, but you can like direct message us and we can send it to you for now. Yeah.
Excellent. I think one of my cats got in here. Yeah, so sorry. So kind of I don't want to call it the last rites here, but what message do you have for your fans out there? You guys have you guys definitely got some listeners on I'm just looking on your Spotify here, but whenever you see someone cross the 1,000 plays, it's always a hooray moment. It always looks good, but you got some monthly listeners going on here. So what do you have for your fans out there?
Well, I guess first and foremost, we'd have to say we wanted to just thank everyone that has supported us so much and that has encouraged us, and that has reached out to us and just given us so much good feedback on what it is that we're doing. And I mean, it makes it all the worthwhile to knowing that there's people that we're reaching and that enjoy our stuff, and that we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna keep growing as a band. We're gonna keep writing more originals. We're gonna keep recording music, and we're gonna try to really really put some power into the Edmonton music scene with what it is that they're doing, and we encourage other bands, you know, that to just work just as hard at your own projects and believe in yourself. And you know, being a band family is sometimes difficult because you know you have different opinions and different tastes and different egos and different, especially at the age that we're at. You know, I mean, we have to manage our time, we have different priorities. But somehow, like, if you when you really come together as a close knit group, like we have as the Detour, you know, like when you really love each other like we do, and just really bring the friend and family aspect together with it, then you can create something truly amazing. And we're on the verge of that, and we're looking so forward to the development of the Edmonton music scene and trying to be part of it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Anything from the rest of you?
Just thank you so much for the support. It's really important to us. And every time we have a comment or something, we read everything. We write back, and we want to support other bands too. So Andrea's great with like doing that too. Like she's messaging all the bands, and like we like to support others too. So thanks for your support, and yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole new world. If you go, if thinking back to the way when I first started in this stuff, the online thing is amazing to me. Just the idea that we can reach more people that way. I mean, when we one of our first shows we played, there was people in the audience singing along,
Yeah, we
and
didn't know them.
Joey,
Yeah.
right? We're like that is just wild to me to see them singing along to Mirror Eyes. We're like that song is like a month old. So like that blows my mind. And yeah, nothing but appreciation for that kind of reach and people being able to hear it and like it. And the fact that I mean like and the amount that Andrea has pushed that. She's been so good at getting us out there, getting a scene and just getting the followers, getting the likes, and the appreciation to other bands too to try to build that community. So in the old days you did the grind, you went to every single show and you got to know these people. Now you can make it even bigger because you can do it online as well and build an even
Yeah,
bigger following, which blows my old guy mind. I'm sorry. It's just wild to me, and I think it's awesome.
yeah, Mike, we've gone from illegally papering poles
Yeah.
downtown in 2007 or 2008 or so, and like trying to, you know, just going to Staples, getting a roll of tape, and this, like, you know, all
Yep.
these posters that we printed ourselves, and just going around and just, you know, and just vandalizing basically. We've gone from that basically to having like a sophisticated way of being able to network with people like Joel and you know, lots of other people who are very supportive of independent music, and it's great to see. It's great to be in this era now.
Well, and the ads work. This
Yep.
is how we
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great, and you know, you kind of nailed it on the head there. It is so wild how you can, you know, promote yourself and how it worked with you. And you know, there's a couple other bands that I've stumbled across actually. My second one with the American country person. I'm not a big country fan, but something about this was, it was just kind of old school. Actually, Mike, you'd probably really appreciate her into the old school country style. But I
Nice.
came across her in the same way where I happened to go to a show that had promotions done for it, and then I had to go out. So I went to the show, and she was one of the opening bands, and it just like, wow, that was kind of weird how that happened. Now I'm the, you know, I'm a big fan of her, and obviously become a fan of you. You know, I've been listening to your music, and I'm glad that ad popped up one day. So, and
Yeah,
it's
where are
just,
we?
yeah, it's just the craziest thing, right? And you know, obviously I wish nothing but the best for you guys, and hopefully you guys can come across Winnipeg sometime. We got some good venues here, and I know, you know, maybe touch on that for a second ago, how touring is very tough. I talked to a band in Saskatchewan a couple weeks ago, and they had just been in Winnipeg, but they talked about how tough touring is. Maybe I think we came to the conclusion that it might be because uh, Canada is just, it's so big, but there's not a lot of populated
Yeah,
cities right beside each other, right? So it's
yeah, that's
hard to
exactly.
do a tour.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
everything's so far
that's
away.
That's tough. So, great. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Wish could have had the last member, but that's all right. We'll get her next time. So,
yeah.
yeah, like I
And
said,
happy
I
birthday.
wish you nothing but the best, and looking forward to more music coming out. I'm glad I discovered you, and I think that was back in August when that happened. I remember sending the message. I think it was somewhere in August. So, nothing but the best for you, and I'm sure there's great things coming.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you so much,
you.
Joel.
All right. Okay, so this is gonna go to, well, it's on Facebook right now. There's one viewer right now, but that usually goes up after it posts itself. So, yeah, we'll talk to you guys later, and I'll be watching for some video from November 16th, your next show.
Awesome.
Thank you.